What's going on, everyone, and happy Monday. While the market did not crack brand new yearly highs today, it still started off the week on a positive note. The S&P 500 has been green for 7 weeks straight now, and it's going for number 8. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the best setups in the market right now, some important things to know about, and to go back in history, and we're going to see and look what happened in the past when the market has went on a 7-week win streak. So we have a great video today. We have some great setups and a great big money trade towards the end of the video. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, the S&P 500 actually failed to break its highs of last week today, but the QQQ here actually broke out above resistance at 406 and actually went on a pretty decent run. SPY itself had a pretty good move back up. It broke that trend line from yesterday. It held that support around 469 to 470, and it's looking pretty good back to the upside here. But there is a huge resistance, obviously, right here at 473 to 473.50 that we have to be aware of. This area is like right around the highs of 2021, and there were a few hits back there. So just keep your eyes on this resistance as we move forward. But Mike, it's actually awesome that we're starting to see the market uptrend again. Like you said, we've had 7 total weeks in the green so far. We're going on number 8, and it's always good to see when the market goes on nice uptrends like this.
Exactly, and we could clearly see by looking at the chart, those little green diamonds represent every single time that the market goes on a 7-week win streak. And it's been a while since the most recent one, which happened in like around 2018, somewhere around there. And basically, historically speaking, when there's a 7-week green streak, it's kind of like a tongue twister, but there's an 86% chance that the market is higher than it is where it is right now in a year from now, right? And we could see that in the bottom right corner of the screen. There's an 86% chance of the market being higher in a year from now, and there's a 75.9% chance of the market being green a month from now. So that's great to see. Obviously, the market has an upward shift towards it, but either way, you know, the bulls have definitely been in control over these past couple weeks, and, you know, like we said in yesterday's video, we're heading into an especially strong period of the year. A lot of times we do see Santa rallies, but of course, there have been a couple years where the Grinch came along and stopped that.
Man, I don't know if it's a Santa rally or if it's just everybody shopping at Costco, Mike. Holy crap. I'm looking at some of these stocks that tend to maybe do well during Christmas. People always talk about like Walmart, Costco, Amazon, stocks like that. Really, Costco blew me away today. We go look at Amazon. They had a pretty good breakout going on. And even Walmart, which has been down in the dumps lately, started to kind of come back. So I've been really liking these retail stocks heading up into the holidays, Mike. It's just really cool to see this chart as well, showing that we'll get, you know, probably at least with an 86% chance, be green in the next 12 months, which is awesome. And it's always good to see that, obviously. You know, sometimes there could be differences. Now, we got to keep in mind, 2024 is an election year, so that might even play some a factor into this. And we'll talk about the election year a lot throughout 2024. So definitely make sure that you guys stick around and keep following the channel because, man, it's going to be a wild 2024, Mike. I have a wild hunch the market's going to be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, even 2023 was pretty crazy, and 2022 was pretty bloody as well. But while the market is on a 7-week green streak, one stock that is certainly not is Nikola. So ticker symbol NKLA. Only the true OGs remember this stock, but back in the 2020 money printer days, basically this company was a giant fraud. The stock ended up skyrocketing once it came onto the market, as they did a little, I don't know what you would call this, Tom, but they basically made it seem like their hydrogen truck was driving, when in reality they just rolled it down a hill, and it looks like the CEO of that company is I guess you could say facing some consequences finally.
Yeah, finally, right? Like everybody's been on this big piece of news with Nikola for a long time. They faked that truck. They had it go down the hill without even being under like the power of the electric motor or anything like that. And, you know, it blew everybody away at first. I mean, look at the truck, Mike. It looks it almost looks better than like a Tesla truck. I'm sure a lot of people would argue it looks better, but looks can be deceiving, I guess, if there's no engine in the damn thing. But it's definitely a funny thing to see here, and he's going to be getting sentenced to jail for 4 years, Mike, in, well, I guess prison technically. Now, we never really know their sentence for 4 years. I don't know, how early they'll get out or, good behavior and all that stuff. But it's definitely interesting to see this, Mike, that he's finally getting charged. And I think it's the right thing to do, right? As long as he was the one that made the decision. Now, obviously, if there was like 10 people involved, then I think that it should be spread out a little bit more. But it's definitely interesting to see him getting 4 years for this one.
Yeah, so there's no crazy market news with this one, but we definitely wanted to provide an update because this stock was one of the staples of 2020 and all the craziness that was associated with that market year. So that's the stock market drama for today. But on a different note, though, that's more applicable to today's market, Apple actually had some pretty big news come out where it looks like they are pausing some of their watch sales right before Christmas over a patent dispute. So long story short, they, for their Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2, they're going to stop selling these watches online at 3 p.m. on Thursday, and then they're going to stop selling them in stores after Sunday. And long story short, there's like a patent dispute between Apple and, I don't know how you say this, Massimo, and over the blood oxygen feature. So, Apple's kind of like getting hit with this at kind of the worst time possible right before Christmas. But Apple's stock definitely fell today, but it wasn't like the end of the world by any means.
Yeah, it really wasn't. I mean, it ended up closing down into the red, and you can see that Friday at market close, it dipped down. Today it opened, it dipped down again. So it had problems getting back, but it did get back to those levels it opened at today at least. So that made me happy. But of course, it wasn't like Tesla or anything like, well, Tesla actually ended up pretty deep in the red too. But going back to Apple here, Mike, that's definitely pretty big. And one thing that I saw is the White House actually has 60 days to review this restriction, and they have until December 25th to decide to veto this. Apparently, President Biden kind of gets to make the call here. So I'm curious if he's going to say that the ITC ruling will hold up or if he'll strike it down and kind of veto it. But I'm really hoping, though, that honestly, that Apple doesn't get a pass on this, Mike, because, let's be realistic. Apple's such a big company. If they're stealing somebody else's technology, they should have to pay just like if me and you would have to pay if we stole it.
Exactly. So either way, keep a close eye on Apple going forward. The stock is starting to fall, but the full-on bearish momentum hasn't picked up just yet. But anytime you have news like this, it has potential to move the stock. And as we all know, Apple is one of the major powerhouses of the entire market. So if Apple starts to tank down, it'll definitely have a bearish impact across the rest of the market.
Yeah, exactly. It's what is it now, Mike? The second highest, or I think it's back to the highest weighting in the S&P. It keeps flip-flopping with Microsoft, but we know it's definitely one of those stocks that will kind of drag it down. And I will say this, the SPY was very resilient today, even though Apple didn't really do much. Same thing with the QQQ. I guess the other stocks in the market held it up, like Amazon, Tesla, and a couple others. I know Tesla went red, but at least for early in the morning.
Yep. All right, Tom. So for tomorrow, what's on the schedule for earnings and economic data?
Yeah, the earnings are actually pretty big. So tomorrow we are actually kicking the week off kind of with FedEx, FDX in after hours. That's going to be a big one. They're heading into the holidays. Hopefully they're getting some good numbers. And I don't know, with that UPS potential strike and all that, maybe FedEx is seeing some increased activity from that over the last quarter. I don't know. Micron is reporting Wednesday in after hours, so be aware for that. Huge chip stock. Then Carnival and Nike on Thursday. But Mike, the big thing is really the economic data this week. There isn't too much for tomorrow. Building permits, housing starts. On Wednesday, there's not really too much either. But Thursday's the big day. We're starting to kick things off with GDP growth rates, initial jobless claims, and PCE numbers. So Thursday is going to be pretty big.
There we go. So keep a close eye on these events for the week. But with that being said, let's get into some setups and predictions for tomorrow. So one stock I'm watching very closely is AVGO still. So I talked about this stock in yesterday's video. I am expecting a slowdown with this stock. This is like a $500 billion company, literally, and over the past couple of days, this stock has moved to the upside by 27%. That is some awesome bullish momentum, but it's a little bit too much too quickly, right? These moves are pretty rare to this extent, and I am expecting a slowdown and a pullback. I am not expecting this stock to go back to the level it was previously at, like around 1,000 a share, but I can definitely see it pulling back to around that 1,100 range or even more, depending on the movement. But with setups like these, you cannot just like blindly short them, right at market open. You have to wait for that momentum to shift. For example, today, the stock opened up and it was just kind of, I guess for a lack of better words, just lollygagging around, right? And then it eventually ended up slowly climbing higher. Once you see that momentum actually shift and you see the stock constantly on its low of day, intraday, that can give you a much better idea of, when that momentum is actually shifting and sellers are finally coming into play. But either way, this stock is close on my radar for tomorrow.
Yeah, and I feel like that this thing has just been continuing to go so often. I wouldn't even be surprised if it went up again tomorrow, but I'm going to keep it on the radar too, Mike, because whenever this thing starts to come down, it should make for some extremely, extremely fun opportunities. And I hate to say it, but there's going to be a lot of people who end up getting screwed over, I feel like, on AVGO. So be careful if you are longing this one over the next couple weeks. Mike, I'm also going with a stock that's pretty high in the short term, and that is Coinbase, and I'm looking for this one to continue. Had a great recovery day today, back up towards recent highs, and if it can break 155, I'll look at calls for tomorrow. It was good to see him coming back, and with the way they opened today, I thought it was going to be a bloodbath, but wow, they proved me wrong for sure, up 3.7%.
There we go. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is Chewy, ticker symbol CHWY. This is a stock I like for the long term, and it's even showing some short-term good price action as well. It was up 3% on the day, and it was it's getting closer and closer to some of its highs over the past couple weeks and months. I think this one has some pretty good bullish momentum right now, and especially if we see a break above that $22.30 level, I think this one has potential for a breakout. So keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, I like that double top here in the short term. Hopefully it does break and get some good movement. And speaking of breaks, I'm looking for Walmart to start to recover up. I know we saw Costco, Walmart, Amazon do very well today. If they're able to break 155 tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and look at more bullish momentum to the upside. I really like this 155 level, Mike. And don't be confused with Coinbase's level. It's a little bit weird, Mike, but both of these stocks are sitting right at 155. So I guess you can't go wrong with 155 on these two plays tomorrow.
What are the odds of that? Seriously, your two setups, Tom, having the same exact break levels. That might actually be a first out of all the years we've been doing this.
It really might, except for maybe something at $20. I actually just had to go back and look because I was like, did I just mess something up? Because I was like, this is so rare. But yeah, 155, keep it on watch for Walmart and Coinbase.
All right, sounds good. Well, with that being said, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have NEO to the upside. And this stock was blasting higher in pre-market, but it calmed down a little bit right before open.
Yeah, there was news that an investor out of Abu Dhabi put $2.2 billion into this one this morning, and it popped off and then consolidated a lot. I was hoping for more bullish action, to be honest. But if they are able to break 850, then let's go ahead and look at calls tomorrow.
All right, with the next one, we have Upwork to the upside.
UPWK, Upwork is going up. Go ahead and make them break 1575, just above that high of day. And I'm glad that they broke that high of last week today.
All right, sounds good. And with the last one, we have AMD for both directions.
Yeah, AMD was kind of rough. I noticed end of day, they started to break under this little intraday trend and then kind of just went all over the place. If they fall under 138.50, I'm going to eye up puts, and I'm actually leaning slightly to the downside on AMD here. But if they're able to break 140, then look at calls. They've been kind of stuck at this 140 range, though, for about 5 days now. So definitely keep that resistance on watch tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. So we have that downside level for AMD, and we have the upside level as well. So keep a close eye on this one. And then don't forget about Upwork and Neo with their resistance levels as well. If they break above those points, we'll look at them for potential day trades to the upside, but they need to break these levels in order to be a play. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right into my favorite part of the video, which is the big money trade of the day. And we are looking at ticker symbol EL today. And long story short, a big money player put 815 grand into the EL 145 strike call options that expire way out in January of 2025, January 17th of 2025 to be exact. And basically with big money trades, they're great to follow, and they've been absolutely on fire over the past couple weeks. But a setup like this specifically has a lot of time to it. We're going all the way out to 2025. So if you do decide to play this one, only follow it if you're willing to give it time. Like if you're someone who is not willing to give this option the time it needs, then you should not be in this trade. But if you're willing to give it time, you're willing to follow the big money, that's a different story. Some big money trades expire in a couple weeks, while others, like this one, expire in, over a year. So keep an eye on it either way, but it's definitely an interesting setup.
Oh my gosh, Mike. I mean, people talk about stocks that got really high during the COVID era, and what do you think of? You usually think of stuff like Zoom or DraftKings, or stuff like Peloton where you're stuck at home more. I don't know what went on, but Estee Lauder had quite the run up from COVID. I mean, all the way till 2022, whenever everything started falling off, this stock was actually amazing. I can't believe how bullish the chart was. And now it just totally fell over all the way below supports from 2018 again. So, man, I'll have this one on watch for a recovery, Mike. It is down so low that I almost feel like the big money just can't go wrong here unless this company, starts to really have a lot of issues. And I think that being such a large company like they are, they'll at least recover up a little bit. Now, could this be shorted calls? Maybe, but I would never short call with this much time to them at 145. So I would think they're definitely longing it long term. Just keep in mind, like Mike said, if you want to do this, it's more of a long-term game. And I even think it's actually fairly good for shares right now, given the big drop it had.
There we go. So keep a close eye on this one going forward. But, like we said earlier in the video, Tom, the market has been on fire over the past 7 weeks. We're going for the 8th green week in a row. I know a lot of people are bringing up talks of some new all-time highs with SPY. SPY still has a little bit more work to put in, but it seems like every week over the past couple weeks, it's just been getting closer and closer and closer and closer, and it's we're pretty dang close now. So it's all eyes are on SPY heading into this week, and quite frankly, for the rest of the year.
I know, right? And that all-time high is really close to 480 for everybody wondering. It's super close to that. So that's the big area I'll be watching. If we go back to 2021, Mike, we can see that the resistance that we're sitting at right now, which is the red horizontal line here that I'm marking blue, that is right at 473, which is the high of this week and last week. So keep this resistance that we're sitting at on watch, guys. If it breaks, then we might be pushing that all-time high here sometime soon, Mike. And judging by these candles, it could happen within just 1 day or so. So keep the market on watch, guys. One stock I am also watching short term is Tesla. And Mike, Tesla started to break out pretty well here today. It actually broke out amazingly this morning and then pulled back. And we can see on the daily chart, it's starting to break this cyan blue trend line that I've had. And then I have a longer term red trend line on the chart, but it's sitting like right on that longer term red line. You know, it looks really exciting because it's breaking the shorter term trend, but whenever we see that long term trend, it's actually hitting like right there. And if we go to Bookmap, there is $75 million plus stacked up at this 260 spot. This is 339,000 shares that were stacked at 260 today on the Bookmap. So this is a huge overhead resistance. Like I said, $75 million plus. Depending on when you look at it, the shares come in and out. So I might have done it slightly less. But man, Mike, I mean, there is a lot of money at this 260 level. Definitely have this on watch if you're a Tesla bull over the next few days, because this really needs to break for the bulls to get a true breakout forming here.
Exactly. And if you are a short-term trader, Bookmap is something that you have to try out at least once in your trading career. Like Tom showed you, basically it shows you exactly where the buyers and sellers are lined up. It's like X-ray vision for the stock market. And, you know, without this type of visualization, you just miss a lot of things. So definitely check it out. It's going to be that first link in the description in the comments down below. If you do use the link below, you will save. So if you just go to the normal Bookmap website, you will not have access to the deals that we have access to in the link down below and in the comments down below. So definitely check it out. It's awesome. And once you try it out, there's a chance you might never go back to just normal charts. But either way, it should be a pretty exciting week. We're super close to all-time highs. We're in a very interesting time of the year, and we're seeing some pretty good movement out of a lot of different stocks right now. So it should be a great week. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's make the end of 2023 a great one. Thanks for watching, and let's crush it.